Hi everyone, I'm Allison McManus, and today we're going to talk about our rolling demand plan. So just a quick refresher on our business. We're a sportswear brand. We have 3 divisions: apparel, footwear, and a hardware and accessories division. Each division is made up of different sports categories. So at this point, we've established our demand plan and really gotten that approved by all of our partners in marketing, merchandising, and demand planning. We've worked with finance and made sure that our financial plans and our demand plans really align and make sense. We looked at the seasonality of our products and how we think demand is going to come in for the next season. And then we've confirmed our capacity with our suppliers to make sure that we have enough room at all of our factories to make the product when we want to. So now we're going to move forward in time, and we're going to move into the season itself, where we actually have orders coming in. So what we're going to do at this point is see how orders have come in against our forecast and see what that means to our plan into the future. So in the short term, do we need to readjust our plan up or down based on how orders have come in, or is everything kind of tracking as normal? So we're going to take a look at that now. So for this demonstration, we're going to talk about our running business unit, and we're going to have a men's jacket, a men's short sleeve top, and a women's tight. So if we look at pretty much all of their demand plans put together by month for the upcoming year, we can kind of see that our short sleeve top is, probably our biggest product coming in. The jacket and the tight are much smaller, but the jacket does have some peaks in those winter and kind of colder months. So this monthly plan is great, but now we actually have our Q1 orders in. So you want to see how orders have come in those first few months of January, February, and March. So we're going to reevaluate our plan, and to do this, we're going to look at a couple quantitative measures as well as qualitative measures. So on the quantitative side, we're going to look at our percent of forecast fulfilled. So how did orders come in against our forecast? And our percent change in order trends. Are orders going up or down every month? What does our forecast change look like? We'll work through that in this lesson. For qualitative measures, we're going to look at our input from our marketing teams and input with our sales teams, because really the math can only get us so far. We really have to all work together and talk as a team to be able to come up with answers and plans for the future. So let's start with our jackets business. So the blue bar here is our forecast. So what we originally anticipated our jackets demand to be looking into the future. And our red bar is how orders have actually come in for Q1. So just quickly gazing at that, we can see that in Q1, our orders are actually less than what we anticipated in forecast. So let's dig into this a little bit deeper. First, we want to look at how much of our forecast has been fulfilled. So in the month of January, I've done an example here, and we have 4,800 orders divided by a forecast of 6,600. So we actually only fulfilled 73% of our forecast. Done that out for the rest of our months, and in February we are 67% fulfilled, and in March 86% fulfilled. So we're continuously not hitting our forecast when we're actually seeing all of our orders come in per month. So that's something we want to keep an eye on, and we're going to want to take that into account when we think about our forecast in future months. Another thing I want to look at is the rate of order change. So how do the orders actually dipping and moving compared to each other? So for this, I'm going to use an equation, which is a rate of change equation, which is always going to be my new month of orders minus my old month of orders divided by old. So in February, I can see that I have 4,600 minus 4,800 divided by 4,800. So my orders from January to February actually decreased 4%. When I look into March, they actually decreased 35%. So, it's not a lot of data points, but once again, we know that our orders are going down, and we don't necessarily have a very clear picture of how quickly they're going to go down. Another thing I want to look at, just on my end as a planner, how I had anticipated the orders to decrease. So I'm going to look at the rate of forecast change that is going to be based off my original plans for the season. So if I look at the month of February, I'm going to have 6860 minus 6600 divided by 6600. So in February, I had actually anticipated orders to be slightly higher than the month of January. This didn't end up being the case at all because our orders actually went down. And we saw that come down even more in March, where I had anticipated our orders to be about 40% less than the month of February, when in reality the orders actually went down 35%. So a couple different data points that we can now kind of bring into future conversations. So let's kind of recap all of this information that we've looked at so far. So at a really high level, it's very easy to see that our orders are coming in under forecast. When we look at our April forecast, which is the next month of forecast we have in Q2 that we probably want to be reevaluating, we can see that our forecast is 24% lower than our March forecast, and it's also 13% lower than our March orders. How I'm finding that number is I'm taking my April forecast of 2,646 minus my 3,000 in orders from March divided by the 3,000 of March orders. So at this point, I would be saying that I would anticipating orders to come down 13% lower. So the next thing we want to do is have that qualitative conversation with our sales and marketing partners. So when we talk to sales, we find out that a key account we had planned on placing the product didn't end up placing it in as many stores as originally was part of the plan. So what will happen here is we'll naturally have a decline in orders versus forecast. Marketing can also let us know that Q2 is definitely a lighter season for jackets as we start to go into the spring season. So they would also anticipate that orders would continue to decline. So from both of our partners, we can see that a decline is probably what we're anticipating. So when we really kind of talk it out, in this case, we might decide to actually keep the April and May forecast pretty relative because we already have a good decline coming through with our original forecast. But what we do see when we look out into the end of Q2 is our June forecast is actually relatively high and kind of has a little peak. This probably, based on what we've seen so far, isn't something that's actually going to happen. So we probably want to reevaluate that June forecast down to be more about 1,500 or so, to be more in line with the rest of our forecast, kind of going through that seasonality curve for running jackets. So that'll be the decision that we make to change. So we'll actually end up holding April and May forecast constant because we're already declining, and then we'll have June go down to be 1,500. So let's move on to our next product. We have the short sleeve top. So here, just looking at it at a high level, our short sleeve tops are doing well. They're coming in over our forecast every month. And let's see what else we can dig into. So if we look at our percent fulfilled, we are actually looking at having over 100% every month, which makes sense because in our graph, we could easily see that orders are coming in over forecast. If we look at our rate order change, we see in February, we did have a little bit of a decline from January. That was something we were anticipating anyways. But in March, we saw our orders actually increase 127%. So that's a really big jump, and it's something we want to keep an eye on. We look at our rate forecast change. We had anticipated February to come down a little bit more than it actually did, and we were expecting March to go back up as well, just not at the same level that it actually ended up coming together. So when we kind of recap what we've looked at so far, it's very clear that orders are coming in over forecast. April's forecast is 25% higher than our March forecast, but it's only about 2% less than March orders. So it's a pretty clear indication that April is probably too low, and we probably want to take that number up. If we're already less than our March orders and we're seeing a growing trend, we definitely need to reevaluate. So when we talk to our sales and marketing partners, we get some additional information. Sales lets us know that an additional sporting goods account was added, so we actually have a whole new customer that wasn't built into our original plan. And then we also have another little piece of information that we have a really big order for Costco coming in May for 5,000 units. So pretty much at this point, sales can tell us we, at a minimum, have demand for 5,000 units, and that order will happen. So when we talk to our marketing team, they let us know this is a very commercial piece. They're not really worried about overproducing on it. And we know we have an exit strategy because they talk to the factory outlet group and they will take any excess product on this model because it's very easy to sell. You know, it's very bread and butter. So if we look at how we want to reevaluate our forecast, we decide to bring April up to 7,500 units. That'll give us a good increase over our March orders and leave us some room to grow, which is important. And then we also want to take up our May forecast because if we looked at May before, we have to take into account that 5,000 of that is absolutely going to go to Costco. So if we think about our normal inline customers outside of that Costco order, our forecast would only be about 7,000. So we need to make sure that we're increasing that baseline forecast for our regular customers and then adding that big Costco order back on the top. So we're going to take up May to make sure that we have plenty of room for all of our customers to have product in that month. So our next product we have here is our women's running tight. So just really quickly looking at this graphically, it looks like our orders are coming in very much to forecast. Everything's lining up really well. Do have a little bit of a peak in April, so we might want to look into that because that growth rate is a little bit higher than we have been seeing just in the few months that we have forecasted so far. So let's take a closer look. We look at our percent fulfilled. It's very much on par with what we just saw in the graph. 99% in January, 104% in February, 98% in March. Seems very well planned out, so we're not too worried. Things are looking good so far. We look at our rate of order change. In February, orders went down 14%. We had anticipated a dip in our initial forecasting as well. In March, they went up 1%, so it kind of varies a little bit, but still very close to how we had anticipated demand to come in. And we look at our rate of forecast change. We have February decreasing by 18%. In reality, orders went down 14%, but still pretty close. And then in March, we had our forecast going up 8%. So when we bring this all back together, very clearly, orders are coming in very much as planned. And when we look at it, our April forecast is 41% higher than our March orders. All right, so after knowing all of that, our final decision for the tights is actually going to be to hold steady and reevaluate the forecast next month when we have another month of orders, because so far there's really no red flags that are giving us any reason to need to change our forecast. We know that our sales reps working really closely with accounts. Everything looks really smooth so far, so we're going to continue with the current plan. So now that we have worked through all of our products, we want to come back to our revised demand plan and bring our new information together. So what I have up here is our original forecasts, our orders in so far, and what I want to do is really bring these together and replace forecast with orders where I have them to create my revised plan. So that's what this is going to show us. Here we have our orders on top. So our forecast really is no longer valid because it's really come to life in orders. We don't need to look at that anymore. So we want to take that away, and then in the future, what we want to have is our new forecast after we've worked with all of our different stakeholders and figured out what those new plans are going to be. So On the top, we want to replace old forecast with the orders that have come in, and then on the bottom, we want to bring in our new revised forecast as we've seen it come out of our different conversations. So our next question is going to be, how does this new forecast fit back in with our financial plan? So at this point now, we have orders, some of our forecast has gone away, and we've revised some of our forecast in the future. So what is that going to change what that means to our business financially? So what we need to do is go back to our original plan. Here's our original plan in units. It's just about 200,000. What I want to do is take those units and turn them back into a financial plan. So here I have my yearly forecasted ASP, which I'm going and getting from my financial teams. For my jacket, I'm seeing that my ASP is forecasted at $54.99. For my short sleeve top, it's $27.50, and for the tight, it's $35. So net sales is always going to be ASP times anticipated demand. And I'm going to multiply my number of units times my ASP to get my anticipated net sales. So here we've done this out, and I see that my grand total in this case is about $7,587,000 from our original plan. So now I want to look back at my revised plan in units because we have made some changes. For my original plan, I can see that I actually have less jackets anticipated. I have more tops probably going to be sold, and my tights are going to stay about the same, or that's as much as we know at this point in time. So what I want to do now is take this revised plan and turn this also into a financial plan and see how those compare as well. So very similar to our last exercise, I want to take my forecasted ASPs times my new anticipated demand on each of the products and figure out what that looks like as a financial plan. So when I roll this up, I see that my new plan is coming in at about $7,382,000. Let's look back what our original plan was. It was $7,587,000. So we actually have a little bit of a gap there. It's actually about $205,000. Really, is that okay to just drop $200,000 out of our plan financially? Probably not. So this is where we kind of need to go to the next steps of raising the red flag to management and saying that how our plan is working out for our running business unit isn't going to hit our financial goals for the year. So we need to kind of see what else we can do to make up the difference there. So what we'll want to do is have a review with our management teams. We'll have our business unit directors, our marketing teams, our sales teams, really everyone who's involved in this or could have a stake in it to see what we can do. Because really we know losing $200,000 from the plan's not an option. So what can we do to get those dollars back? Maybe we can do some promotions on the popular short sleeve tops. We know that they're selling well. We know we have an exit strategy with factory outlet. Could we do some promotions with some key accounts and try to maybe get a lower price point but more volume to make up the dollars? That could be an option. Do we drop our price on the jacket to try to encourage sales? Would the price elasticity there even help encourage sales, or is the jacket just not going to do well no matter what we do? These are some of the conversations that we'd want to have just as a group to figure out how do we, change our marketing or sales plans to gain back those $200,000. And ultimately, the final decision is going to need to come from our senior management team. Our job as the planner is to see the issue and raise the alarm and make sure that everybody's on the same page of what the year is looking like from a unit and fiscal perspective. But when it comes to actually making the bigger off decisions about how to fix any issues, we would definitely need sign off from senior management. It's always great as a planner, though, to come in with a couple ideas about maybe some opportunities you see that could help fix the plan as well. Great, so that was our rolling demand plan. Thank you.